Great. Welcome, everyone. As you heard, I have started the recording for our presentation this afternoon. My name's Mary. I am your host from AARP New Hampshire for today's webinar. I am a lead volunteer with AARP New Hampshire. And assisting me today is AARP New Hampshire staff, Ashley Davis. She will be monitoring the chat because we do want to hear from you today. So if you do have a question or you want to make a comment, please use the chat box, which can be accessed by clicking the chat button at the bottom of your screen. At AARP New Hampshire, we are focused on the health, the financial security, and social connections that are critical to the well-being of the 50+ in the Granite State. We do our work through targeted advocacy at the state and federal levels with compelling engagements of the 50+ community statewide, and we serve as a trusted resource for information for our members and for the public. Our presentation today is a great window into new skills and techniques that can help you manage long-term health and chronic conditions. Today, we are working with Melissa Lee to help you develop these skills for wellness. Melissa Lee has been a health and well-being field specialist with UNH Extension for over 6 years. She worked with a local New Hampshire healthcare system for over 15 years prior to this, and she has a passion for helping people manage chronic health conditions. Melissa first became a trained leader for the evidence-based chronic disease self-management program in 2009, and she has been implementing workshops in community and online ever since. She became a leader trainer in 2022, and she serves as a member of the New Hampshire Wellbeing Action Network leadership team, where New Hampshire partners collaborate to create opportunities for chronic disease self-management workshops in New Hampshire. Thank you, Melissa, for joining us today and for supporting our community members. We're love to hear from your presentation.
Thank you so much. I'm very glad to be here with you all this afternoon. I'll start off with a Happy New Year. I know they say pretty soon we should stop saying that, but I'm going to say it because it's also a great time. I know we often think of, I don't love resolutions, but sometimes it is a time to get reinvigorated and think about what we can do to better our lives. So I'm excited to share some information with you today. I am really passionate about helping folks manage chronic illnesses, and I'll explain kind of a little bit more as to the why and the how. But again, I welcome your participation today. Please do use the chat box, and we'll have some time at the end for questions for sure. So I always like to start off with a little bit of, what and who is UNH Extension? Whenever I engage with an audience, there are typically, there's a spectrum of folks that have heard or have utilized the services and resources through UNH Extension. So just want to start off with a little bit of information there, and I'd be curious, feel free to drop in the chat if you've utilized Extension and for what, because we do a lot of things. But just some background, the Extension system is really the outreach arm of the university system. And it's not just here in New Hampshire, it's across the country, connected to university systems. But here in New Hampshire, our goal is to bring research-based education, knowledge, and technical assistance out into New Hampshire communities to real people that can use this knowledge and resources to lead healthier lives, to shape community, to influence and be a resource for economics and all sorts of things. So we happen to be present in all of our New Hampshire counties. We have an agreement with New Hampshire counties, which is why often you hear cooperative extension. It's a cooperative agreement. So we have an office in every county where you can access staff and resources. So perhaps you know where your local county office is. If not, check out our website and see what's near you. But we have a mission, and the mission is for Extension to strengthen people and communities in New Hampshire by providing that trusted knowledge, as I said, practical education and cooperative solutions. That's about identifying needs with community in community and trying to find solutions to those needs and problems. And we have 5 program areas that we focus on. A lot of folks are familiar with Extension, kind of in that food and agriculture space, or our natural resources. Maybe you've seen Grow It Green on WMUR. Maybe you know a master gardener in your community. 4-H, which is our youth development arm. Many folks have 4-H clubs in their community, maybe have participated in 4-H as a youth, or have engaged as an adult volunteer with 4-H. We have a community and economic development team that works again with employers, with communities, Main Street projects, revitalizations, all of those types of things. And then I'm a part of what's called our health and well-being team. And really our goal, again, is to bring knowledge, education, resources out into community. We do this through, education with groups. We work with community organizations, schools, employers, you name it, to bring health information and resources to them. So I'm excited to share a little bit more as we dive in about that. And I would be remiss to not mention that we, like AARP, are a volunteer-rich organization, and there's so many ways that folks engage with UNH Extension as a volunteer. It's a great way to experience the organization, develop your skill set, and give back to your community. So these are just some of the ways that folks can engage with Extension as a volunteer. So today I'm here to talk a little bit about taking charge of your health. That's kind of how we framed our webinar today. And you'll see why in a moment. That's actually a name of a program that we offer, but it's an opportunity that we all have to engage in our own health for management and prevention, because let's face it, we all want to stay well. You probably want to continue to do the things in your life that matter to you, and we don't want our health to impact that. So I'm going to talk a little bit about some programs that we offer that help folks do just that. To kind of frame this a little bit, we always like to root what we do in data and the need. And let's face it, there are a lot of different chronic illnesses out there that affect people. And this data spotlight that we're looking at here, the 2025 New Hampshire Healthy Aging Data Report, highlights a couple of key pieces that I just want to mention. Here, I'm kind of moving I'm not sure if you can see that, pointing over the state rates for chronic conditions. So this is looking at the 65 plus population, and it says that 54% of those in New Hampshire who are 65 and older have 4 or more chronic health conditions. That's substantial. That's more than half of our state population in that age range are experiencing multiple chronic health conditions. Beyond that, it breaks down the other kind of top health conditions that are affecting our population. Hypertension is actually the highest, very common, arthritis, heart disease, depression, and diabetes. So probably some common ones that you've heard of, you may be even experiencing yourself. The other piece I want to highlight is down here in the bottom left. And this is this aspect of social isolation. And we certainly have felt the impacts of this since the COVID pandemic in 2020. It's always been there, but perhaps exacerbated now. But, a quarter of older adults in New Hampshire live alone. And in rural communities, that greatly increases the chance of someone having risk factors. Living alone may, kind of again exacerbate or build on these chronic health conditions, but also, can be cause for social isolation, depression, and other mental health conditions that, are real. Are a real condition in our communities. We know folks are experiencing this. So these couple of things together are a good warrant for some of the information I'm going to share for you around these programs and why we offer them and how they're making a difference for folks. So if that slide spoke to you, maybe you're not 65 yet, maybe you have a friend, a loved one, a parent that is in that age range, maybe you are in that age range. If you yourself are experiencing a chronic health condition, or you care for someone who is, because this information is very relevant to those of us who are caregivers as well, we know again that we have lives. We live our life, and suddenly to get signs, symptoms, a diagnosis of a chronic health problem, that can impact us in a variety of ways. So here on the screen, I chose some images because these really speak to me. When suddenly we have a new chronic illness, it might mean changes to our lifestyle, changes that may include new relationships or increased relationships with a healthcare team, right? More engagement with a healthcare system to help manage an illness or illnesses. It might mean changing habits. Let's face it, we've all been brought up and have culture and community that has shaped us and our habits, and maybe something like needing to change how you eat, in order to better manage a condition can be a huge change. We all have hobbies and things that we love to do, whether that's alone or with people, as being part of a community, but they're things that we value that are important to us. And those things are really important. And we want to continue to do those things and not let our health impact that. And having a chronic health condition not only affects our physical health, but it affects our mental health as well. And so there are ups and downs mentally, emotionally, that come along with a diagnosis and daily management of a chronic health condition, or supporting someone who has a chronic health condition. So all of these things, again, are really true. Maybe this is resonating with you. These are the things that make us who we are and are really valuable to us as human beings. So I want to introduce next kind of this concept that we talk about that was mentioned of self-management. So if chronic illness is impacting our lives, self-management is something that we can utilize to kind of take charge, hence the title. So we can either choose to be active in managing our health, or we can be passive. Pros and cons here. If we take an active role, perhaps we can improve our health, we can preserve the health that we have, we can be able to enjoy those parts of our lives that are valuable to us and still do those things. Versus if we're passive and choose to not take an active role, we may lose some of those abilities, which, we don't want to suffer more loss. So I would encourage active management, and that's what we're going to talk about here. But we know when we have a chronic health condition, I mentioned this, that we have this need to develop a stronger relationship with our healthcare team. But I don't know about you, but I'm not at the doctor's office every day. Thank goodness, and I hope you're not. We engage with them as needed. We may have appointments. We may have a variety of professionals. We have to coordinate and network. But it is really up to us as the managers of our health to make daily decisions that impact the outcomes that we experience. So those daily decisions are self-management decisions. So it's kind of broken down here into 3 categories. I'll dive a little bit deeper. So if you have a chronic health condition, kind of the first self-management task is taking care of that health condition. So that might mean, again, something like changing the way you eat, taking medications as prescribed, going to your doctor's visits and being that conduit of information, asking questions, being an active part of your treatment plan, getting good sleep, all of those things that are actually maybe going to help the condition get better or, again, maintenance and manageable. The second one here is those normal daily activities. So the decisions that we make that influence our ability to garden, ride a bike, play with the grandkids, maybe take that trip that we've been planning for, all the things that we value. These are the things that we want to be able to manage in order to do those things that make us a well-rounded human being, okay, engaging in your community, whatever that might be for you. And the last piece are these emotional ups and downs that come along with having a physical or mental health condition. So, as I said, it can be a bit of a cycle. It's normal to be upset, to be fearful, to be disappointed, to be angry, to be sad. So how do we help ourselves? What tools can we use to self-manage, not necessarily ongoing or clinical depression, but those ups and downs that happen as we move through managing our health? So I'm going to take a little peek next at some things we can do to help us manage. What are those tools that we can use to help us self-manage? So that's on the right side of your screen. This is I'm going to call it your virtual toolbox of topics, of tools that can help better self-manage those three different categories that I just mentioned. Because when you have a chronic health condition, and I'm going to appeal here to caregivers as well, because if you're caring for someone with a chronic health condition, you too are impacted in a variety of ways. But we see this symptom cycle on the left-hand side of the screen. And maybe this speaks to you. I'll throw out an example or two here. You're not getting good sleep, stress, fatigue, pain. If we're not getting good sleep, maybe that contributes to something like difficult emotions. We're sad, we're depressed, we're not getting the rest that we need, we don't feel good. And perhaps due to those difficult emotions or depression, we limit our physical activities because we don't feel like getting moving. And because we don't move, we experience more pain. So it becomes a cycle. And the goal is to use the tools in the toolbox to break that symptom cycle. And once it's broken, it doesn't mean it's not going to reform, but it can allow you to pause and get moving in the right direction. So as we see that symptom cycle, it's not linear, nor does each piece connect to the next. It can cross, things can trigger each other. But the goal is to find tools that work for you to help you break that cycle in a place where you can kind of get started on a fresh start. So taking charge. So in New Hampshire, UNH Extension, as well as some other community-based organizations, offer what are called evidence-based self-management programs. So when I say evidence-based, it means that some research has been conducted over the years as to the validity and the impacts that these programs have for those who take part. These are not programs that were designed here in New Hampshire. They were actually many years ago designed at Stanford University and have been implemented in the US and across the world actually for well over 30 years now. But in New Hampshire, we have a network, again, called the Wellbeing Action Network, that provides these workshops and courses to community members. So we have different topic-based workshops that we offer. Take charge of your health, which is kind of our cue to get us here today, is what we call the chronic disease self-management program. I think that it drives people to say, yes, there's things that I can do to be more impactful on my health. So we offer that course. We offer a diabetes version called Living Well with Diabetes and Living Well with Chronic Pain. And they're all variations of the same core program. These workshops, we call them, consist of 6 weekly sessions. So over the course of 6 weeks, the group meets either virtually or in person once a week for 6 weeks for 2.5 hours. Sounds like a long time. It really goes by so fast. And I often tell folks, you're not even going to know that it was 2.5 hours of your time after the first one. But it brings together small groups, 8 to 12 participants who are experiencing the chronic condition, whether it's diabetes for the diabetes specific one, who may be experiencing chronic pain, or the chronic disease or take charge of your health is for anyone who's experiencing any type of chronic health condition. That could be any of those things I named at the beginning on the data sheet, plus probably 1,000 other types of conditions. And these programs are also great for caregivers, either to join the person that you're caring for or to come as a caregiver and engage in that role of what you can learn for yourself and also to assist or help the person that you're caring for. These programs are led by 2 licensed leaders. It's a peer facilitation model. So these are not doctors and nurses that are teaching these courses or workshops. It's folks who have had real life experience in managing chronic health conditions or supporting someone, who are leading, again, a curricula and a program that has been designed and researched for years. In these workshops, they're highly participatory. So if they're in person, obviously you're in a room with other folks and you're engaging. And if they're virtual, they're provided through Zoom or another platform where we highly encourage folks to use their camera and microphone to participate. It really has been shown that participating in these does increase the confidence of those who participate to manage their health and maintain that active and fulfilling life that we all want to have. In person, we love to partner with community settings, whether that's faith-based organizations, senior centers, libraries in New Hampshire, anywhere there's an accessible, safe space where a group may want to gather to participate in one of these workshops. And as I mentioned, lots of virtual options. And I mentioned the New Hampshire Wellbeing Action Network. The backbone for that in New Hampshire is this organization called the Southern New Hampshire Area Health Education Center. They're based out of Raymond, and they are kind of the backbone or leaders for that in New Hampshire. So in these courses, what is covered? As I mentioned, the premise is what is self-management? What is the symptom cycle that often is at the root of managing ongoing chronic conditions? The tools that we can use to break that cycle. So in the workshop sessions, we do a deep dive into those tools in the toolbox. So some of the things that you're seeing on your screen are included 1 week of the workshop, or they may be things that recur throughout. But we focus on things like being proactive. So what can we do to help solve problems individually or together within the group? We learn tools for communication, both within our personal relationships, whether that's you and your spouse, you and your child, or in relationships with our healthcare providers. How can we better communicate our needs or how we're feeling about our condition? We talk about tools and experience tools for managing difficult emotions. And some of that is really kind of digging deep into what is that underlying cause of our difficult emotions, and then thinking about what can we do? How can we improve our emotional state when we experience those things? What are some coping tools that we can use? We talk about physical activity and how that can break the cycle in so many places. And sometimes we think when we have a chronic health condition that physical activity may not seem feasible anymore, but more often than not, it's so much better to stay physically active than not be physically active. So how can physical activity help us with our emotions? How can it help us with our muscle strength, with our balance and flexibility? How can it help us get better sleep? So we explore all these ways that physical activity can help us. And we introduce some different types of exercises that you can do at home, where can get you started if you're looking for a place to start some new activities. We engage around strategies to deal with fatigue and pain. Those two things are often correlated, that the causes of fatigue are often the causes of pain. So we really take a deeper dive into that and look at ways that we can combat both of those symptoms. What are the tools that we can use, the strategies we can use to make an impact on pain and fatigue? We talk again about how we can be a better partner with our physician team, with our healthcare team, what that means. How can we be prepared when we go to our visits or engage with our team? How do we overcome challenges with kind of navigating the healthcare system, with advocating for ourselves? So we, spend some time talking about that partnership development. Healthy eating is typically something that, we all should try to eat healthy, but it can often be a common thread throughout managing chronic illness. So we talk about what healthy eating means, and how there's not one set plan, that it varies depending on what our goals are for our health. But we introduce some strategies for healthy eating that can be great tools for everyone. Medication management is another tool in the toolbox. It's about when and how to use medications responsibly, and also how to evaluate whether something that gets presented to us as a new treatment is something that we want to try. We kind of do a deep dive into looking at the source of where we hear about these new treatments. Is it from our healthcare provider? Is it from research in a journal? Is it from the tabloid you saw at the grocery store? Somebody lost 25 pounds on this new diet. How to consider the source and how to gather your facts so that you can decide whether this is something you want to engage in. Cognitive symptom management. That sounds like kind of a big phrase there. It's about using your mind. And we introduce some tools for how we can use our mind to distract us from things like short-term pain, maybe when we're doing an activity like climbing the stairs with a bag of groceries in our hands, or vacuuming the floors. How can we distract ourselves if those things are causing us pain? We talk about using our mind to help us get back to sleep at night. If you're someone that's struggling with not being able to get a good night's rest, how can we use our mind to help us manage sleep and kind of settling maybe some of the anxieties or thoughts that we're having? We also do something called a body scan, which is a tool using your mind to really get in touch with where the pain and tension is in your body, and how to use your breath to let that go. So we have some experiential components to these workshops that are really beneficial. And then the last thing on here is something that typically everyone who participates mentions is really the highlight of these workshops, is that it brings folks together who have a common thread. And in the Take Charge of Your Health workshop, it might mean that the person sitting next to you has diabetes, and this person has arthritis or COPD. So they may not be experiencing the same condition, but what they are experiencing is what it's like to live life when you have to manage something chronic, something that's affecting you every day. So in these workshops, we're together for 6 weeks. People form relationships. They get to know one another. They're sharing ideas and helping each other problem solve. And often that leads to people wanting to communicate after the workshops are over, continue their support for one another in other realms. So a lot of people find that connection they find in these to be truly valuable, where they don't feel so isolated or alone in managing their health. And that's why at the beginning I highlighted that piece about 1 in 4 adults living alone. We know that that can be isolating. And if you're also struggling to manage a chronic health condition, it can feel extremely isolating. So these workshops, whether they're virtual or in person, can really help to bridge that gap for many folks in New Hampshire. Everyone who participates in a workshop gets this really awesome textbook, Living a Healthy Life with Chronic Conditions. And there's actually a different version for the chronic pain series. But this blue book that you're seeing on your screen is the one that we use for Take Charge of Your Health and the diabetes workshop. And it comes to you free of charge. It's yours to keep. And most people find that it's a huge resource and asset because we don't read the book verbatim. And you don't have to read the book as a participant in these workshops, but most people find that they want to read the book. We break it open in the workshop and share a few pieces, but there's so much more in this book that we don't cover that really, I feel like it's a tool for life. If you're living, you could benefit from the information and the resources that are in this text. And often folks want to share it with someone afterwards, or get a copy for, a friend, a neighbor, a loved one, which is always a great reinforcement that this is such a valuable tool. So I pulled together recently, we had a diabetes workshop this fall. Folks have the opportunity at the end of the workshop to share out kind of what they've gained from this experience. And these comments that you're seeing on your screen are specific to folks who have diabetes and who participated, or there were folks in the workshop who were supporting someone with diabetes. They themselves did not have the condition, but were helping their partner to meal plan and supporting them in daily decision making. And it's when I see these types of testimonials that I really get excited and, again, passionate about why these workshops are so important. The last bullet just really hits me kind of hard. Deep conversations, and I would say, deep. People have the opportunity to connect, as I said, in a group. But someone who has had this experience of having diabetes in the family, but it just went kind of untalked about, right? It wasn't something that was common or brought up very often, that this created a space for this person to feel less alone and learn some of those tools to help them manage on a daily basis. And that just speaks to, again, the community that it creates and the value. So these things I find extremely powerful, and we have long lists of other thoughts that folks have shared over the years, but these were just a few that I wanted to share with you today. So as I mentioned, we offer these programs in New Hampshire. They're part of, again, a larger network developed at Stanford University. Now it's called the National Self-Management Resource Center. And these programs have been kind of adopted and promoted through CDC, the Centers for Disease Control, and other national and federal entities as well. And there were some videos that were developed a few years back that really kind of shared some of the whys, again, behind what are the impacts and why is this important. And this one in particular, I wanted to share with you today. So it's only a couple minutes. I'm going to click the start button and hopefully you can hear it.
I would recommend self-management education programs because it's a road of opportunity for people in need. The benefits that are there for individuals are so huge. You can't put it in a brochure, you can't put it in a flyer. We have no problem taking a bottle of pills from our doctor that they prescribe it and they say it's going to make you better. Well, you don't need your doctor's prescription, and this is something that will make you better to start working on your life. And it gives you the foundation to learn what to do, and more so, how to do it. We have action plans in these programs that helps us to make moves, make changes in our lives to help improve ourselves. It teaches us that we're so much better for others when we're better for ourselves. I think self-management programs, just the word self-management, is a key to anybody. And chronic disease self-management program, evidence-based programs that teach us to better self-manage, to better understand ourselves. I mean, it helps all of us as we grow older, but even more so when you're dealing with a chronic illness. You know, I'm not going to say that when I was at my downtime, my worst time, dealing with the changes and the challenges of my life, I just went to one class and I was done. I was healed and my life changed. What that did is show me a path. It brought me the confidence level, and it brought me the knowledge of how to do what I needed to do. But it's an everyday fight. I speak to people who have addictions, and they say it's an everyday thing. Living with a chronic conditions in a positive manner is an everyday fight. However, having the knowledge and the skills and the confidence and the ability to do it is a huge key. You just go at that day much more confident that I can do it. People attend this program because they want to do something. They want more out of their lives. They want a more fulfilling life. They want to make tomorrow better than they see it right now. And when they talk about it, and they participate in these programs, when we brainstorm and we come up with ideas and we share what works for us, that is huge because people walk out of there knowing that, hey, I can do more. It's an opening up of themselves.
I hope you enjoyed that. Kind of reiterated the things that I've said, but through the perspective of someone who has taken part in one of these programs. So he mentioned making action plans. So I wanted to share this with you today as kind of a little snippet or a teaser of what we do in these weekly sessions. So again, everyone comes with their own goals. And let's face it, sometimes getting started on what we want to do can seem overwhelming. So we talk about what it means to make an action plan and introduce this template or tool. And each week of the session, participants have the opportunity to make an action plan just for the upcoming week, for the next 7 days. And we really emphasize that your action plan should be around something you want to do, not something your doctor says you should do, or your spouse or your child, something you know you need to do, but no, something that you want to do, that you would love to come back the next week and be able to report out that you accomplished. And not only should it be something that you're excited to make a plan around or that you want to do, it should also be achievable. So we talk about the fact that we might have a goal, and maybe you've set a goal at this last week at the start of this new year, that there's something you want to accomplish this year. How do you get started? How do you get started on working towards that goal? How do you break down moving towards a goal into small actionable pieces? So, perhaps let's just say this year is the year that I want to get, maybe I have diabetes, and this year I want to get my A1C, which is a test that measures kind of your blood glucose over a longer period of time. I want to get it down to this level that I've really been aiming for and haven't yet achieved. Well, that's a wonderful goal, but what do you do to start? What can you do this week that'll help you work towards that goal? And that may differ depending on the person, but if that's the overall goal, the action plan this week might be, I'm going to start moving more. And what that means for me, I'm going to look at the 4 questions we want to answer here. The what, I'm going to move, I'm going to walk. How much time? I'm going to just start with 10 minutes because I haven't been walking, and I think that would be just I know I can do 10 minutes. So 10 minutes when I'm going to do it after lunchtime. And how often? Well, I think I can do it 3 days this week. I know I can do it 3 days this week. So 3 days this week, walking for 10 minutes after lunch. And I'm going to do that Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So if that's someone's plan that they're sharing out, we ask them then to rate your confidence on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being, I don't feel very confident, 10 being, I know I can accomplish this. What is your confidence? And if you're not at a 7 or higher, we try and encourage that individual to take a look at their plan to make it into one that they're more confident that they can achieve. So I would encourage you, if you have a piece of paper, if you want to make an action plan for this coming week, and start for yourself thinking about, is there something that you want to do and what is achievable, knowing the other things you have on your plate that you're already responsible for. What is one thing that you can do this week that you can commit to yourself that you're going to do? So I'll leave this up just for a moment. So we, at the end of each session in our workshops, we take a couple minutes. We each draft out an action plan and commit to one, and we share them out loud in the group. And when we come back together the following week, we take a few moments to check in and just report out. How did we do? And it's not about being punitive in any way if you didn't achieve your plan. It's about celebrating those even partial successes, the work that folks do to get there, and or problem solve if there's reasons why achieving the goal just isn't coming to fruition. So that's the power of the group. So folks really do enjoy and find that these action plans help them make progress towards whatever it is that they're working on personally. So that's a little bit about action planning. And again, one of the core tools that we utilize. So let's kind of summarize and look ahead here. I've shared a lot of information with you today. What are some things that you can do now that you've learned a little bit about self-management, about chronic conditions, and ways that you can engage? I'm going to share with you in a moment some opportunities coming up to get involved in a workshop. We have 3 different virtual workshops starting next week. I'll share with you a little information. So if you want to join a workshop, this is your call to action. We'd love to have you. We'd love to have you share the information with a friend or a relative and help them get engaged in this as well if it's of interest. You can share this information within your network. Talk to people about it. Did you even know that extension and these things exist out there? And there's ways to get involved and get engaged. We have flyers and information that shares these resources, and we're always looking for ways to get them out into community, whether that's to libraries, to physicians' offices, to your massage therapist, to the gym, to the town dump, wherever it might be that people gather and might see some information that could intrigue them about taking charge of their health. So if you are someone that would like to help us share resources in your community, we would love that. And I'd love to be able to connect. I'll share my contact information. I could mail anything to you that you might like to distribute. We have advertisements out there on Facebook for these courses as well. So perhaps you've seen them. Actually, about 95% of our participants sign up because they saw something on social media about these workshops. So that's fantastic. We love it when people reshare those and help to promote those. And if this really intrigued you and you're like, boy, I'd like to learn more about maybe being a facilitator for these workshops. Again, our network in New Hampshire provides leader training, and we help folks either as volunteers or as community members earning stipends to deliver these workshops in New Hampshire. So I would invite you to reach out if that intrigued you as well. So here is a little information about some upcoming virtual workshops. So I mentioned next week, Extension is starting 3 different workshops, one of each of the topic ones I mentioned. We have Take Charge of Your Health, that's going to be offered on Tuesday afternoons. So same time we gathered today from 1 to 3:30, starts next Tuesday, and we'll meet through February 17th. That'll be online via Zoom. Then the next day, we have a different workshop starting, Living Well with Chronic Pain. That's going to meet from 12:30 to 3. And then pretty much at the same time, we have another team that's offering the Living Well with Diabetes program from 1 to 3:30 on Wednesday afternoons. And my recommendation, if this interests you, would be to just sign up for one. Folks often say, "Well, can we take the other workshops?" Of course, but do them at different times, because as I said, they do kind of mirror each other, just with a little bit of content differentiation based on the focus. So you can register or get more information by scanning that QR code that's on your screen. So it took me a while to figure this out, but you can use your smart device if you have a phone to open up your camera app and look at, like, as if you're going to take a picture of that code, and the website should pop up. You can see a little yellow link there, and if you click it, it brings you to the registration page where you can either sign up or ask to be put on a wait list or notification list for a future program. Or I will also drop in the chat a link to our events page on UNH Extension that is in particular to our health and well-being events. And you'll see there's some other things on there too that might interest you. But you can certainly visit those links as well. And lastly, this is my contact information. So if you would like to get in touch with me or my team in any way, I encourage you to reach out. Would love to connect with you. And if you're interested in any of those opportunities that I shared. So I want to thank you for your time today. I do see there are some comments in the, there were some comments in the chat box. I'll just take a moment to look, but if folks have anything that they'd like to ask for questions, I'd be happy to answer. Someone did ask if this webinar is for New Hampshire folks only. I will mention, as I said, these workshops are offered across the country and the globe, actually. So I will post in the chat. Let's say you know someone in California and you think they may want to participate in a workshop in their community. They can go to self-management resource .com. Oop, that didn't show up as a link. Anyways, that is the website. I'll try it again. Maybe it'll connect us a link. You can go to this website and type in there's a button that says find a workshop near me, and you can put in your zip code, and it shows you all the organizations and places where these are offered near your community. So that's a really great tool. Oftentimes people will reach out from other states and ask. Yeah, there we go. Again, I'm
Excellent.
Yeah.
I don't see any questions either. Melissa, if we get any through our AARP email or account, we can certainly send them along. We'll make sure to send out everything that you included for links in email form so that if anybody is interested in learning more or joining, they are able to. We really appreciate your time today, Melissa, and all this useful information, and can't wait to hear how these sessions go to help people make sure that they're taking charge of their health this year.
Thanks so much. Appreciate the time, everyone. Be well.
Thank you all.